Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Playeasy Warm-Up, the podcast where we dive into the stories, people, and places driving the sporting event and tourism industry forward. I'm your host, Kerri Shields. This is actually our first episode since our second Playeasy Innovators Summit hosted in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I am really excited because for the next two episodes, we're bringing a little piece of that summit directly to you. One of my favorite parts about this year's summit was something we called the event organizer Shark Tank. The idea was pretty simple: to bring event organizers from across the sports industry together and give them the opportunity to talk directly about their organization and their events, what they're looking for in host destinations, where they're growing, and ultimately what makes a great destination partner. And what I loved most was just how different every conversation was. Throughout these two episodes, you're going to hear from organizations across pickleball, youth sports, outdoor endurance events, esports, golf, adaptive sports, collegiate athletics, table tennis, wheelchair basketball, and more. In part one, you'll hear my conversations with Tony Schneider from US Senior Pickleball, Ariana Darcy from 3Step, Steve Andrus from XTERRA, Harvey Scruggs from H3 Athletics, Jacob Van Ryn from NECC, Micah DeFort from TRIBU, and James Zitmanis, Lucas Zitmanis, and Adam Hook from Weekend Hockey. But despite how different their events are, there were some really consistent themes that came through in every conversation that we had. Some of them were that relationships matter, and the experience outside of the venue matters. Community buy-in matters. And again, we heard that the best partnerships aren't necessarily about having the biggest facility or offering the largest incentive. They're about finding the right fit and building something together over time. That's really what we hoped the Innovator Summit would create: honest conversations between the people bringing events into communities and the destinations working to host them. So for part one, we're taking you inside those conversations with 7 event organizers from the summit. You'll hear what they're building, what they're looking for, and some really great examples of destination partnerships that have made an impact on their events. I just want to thank all of the event organizers for coming. We had such an amazing time in Ann Arbor, and it meant a lot just to trust us and being there and being able to tell their story. And I think it was one of the biggest pieces of feedback we got from hosting the summit was how intimate and just the opportunity to be able to tell their stories and connect on such a deeper level was really special. And so I just want to thank everyone who's there with us. And if you weren't, we hope you join us next year. But I'm excited for you guys to hear this one. Let's get into it. Team Linked is proud to sponsor today's special episode of the Playeasy Warm-Up podcast. Behind every well-run league, club, or tournament, there's someone holding it all together. And that's who Team Linked is built for. Registration, scheduling, communication, handled so organizers can focus on what actually matters: the athletes and the experience. Thousands of sports organizations already trust Team Linked to run their seasons. Learn more at teamlinked.com. Tony, we're going to start with you. How are you?
I am wonderful. I'm living the dream.
You are living the dream. I will say, Tony, my dad has been here this week, and Tony made his life because he asked him to be an ambassador for US Senior Pickleball. So that you won him over.
Is that a commitment? Do we have a commitment from him? So that'd be great.
Yes. But Tony, for those who don't know you and about your organization, could you start by just giving a bit of background?
Yeah, just a great story. Every January, right? New Year's, you set a resolution, and I would look in the mirror and I'd say, okay, this is going to be my year, right? I'm going to go to gym 3 times a week. I'm going to run. I'm going to exercise. And after, I set those goals because I'm an achiever, and I'm off to the races, right? So the first weekend I hit it, I hit the gym hard. I'm pumping iron, I'm running. And the second week, I got to work, right? So work comes up, I can't make it. I don't make it to the gym. I'm running late. So I go grab a burger, on the way home and some fries. By the third week, I'm like, I'm over this. I got real things to do. I don't have time to do this. And so I ran into US Senior Pickleball, and they believe 3 things. One, they believe you should have fun. They believe you live your best life with your friends and your family. And they believe that if you just get in a little bit of exercise, you can extend your life, the quality of your life, by years. Now, let me ask you a question. Is there anyone in this room that doesn't want to extend their life by years? Yeah. So I think we're all in. Now, the next question I would ask you is, how many of you have played pickleball? Raise your hand. You have done it. You are extending your life by years. Pickleball can do that for you. And so I fell in love with pickleball. And then when USSP approached me, I said, well, what do you value? And they said, we value fun, we value friendship, and we value fitness. And I'm like, I am all in. And so that's how I became the president. It was a crazy thing. I missed the meeting. And just like your dad, he doesn't know it yet, but he's an ambassador for US Senior Pickleball. It has been an amazing journey, amazing organization. Just a little bit about US Senior Pickleball. We're a 501c3. Every dollar we spend, we try to multiply that and give it back to our members in a greater amount. So, for example, if you invest $20 in US Senior Pickleball, our goal is to give you $200 in value back. And we do that through tournaments. You get $10 off every tournament that we play. We do round robins and grassroots effort activities where they're low cost or no cost. We have discounts and those types of things. And so our goal is to multiply your money. The beautiful thing is we don't try to make any money. Our goal is to give it all back to you. And so it's been an incredible journey. We've actually exponentially grown over the last 3 years. We're in all 50 states. We're up to serving about 15,000 seniors. Keep in mind, there's about 1.5 million seniors that play pickleball. They're 50 and above is our target audience. But what sports can you play with your children, with your grandchildren, with your father or your mother? Men and women compete equally. It's pickleball. You really need to get involved.
So you speak about your growth just over the course of the last few years. And so could you give people an idea of where you are most popular right now and then what you look for in a destination?
Yeah, we're most popular in the Sun Belt, of course, because it's mostly indoors and outdoors. Who wants to play pickleball in New York in December, right? Unless you have an indoor facility. And so kudos to Opelika. I don't know where they are, but Opelika, that they have covered facilities, right? We just did a tournament in Raleigh at Pinpoint, covered facility indoor. So we're seeing a lot more of that up in the north. We have one in Madison coming up here in a couple of weeks. And so we're seeing a lot of growth, predominantly in the Sun Belt. But don't count the north out yet. I think they're coming back stronger and better. And in fact, the Beer City Open, which will be here in July, is a huge tournament in the area. And so definitely seeing pickleball growth all over the country.
And your new brand ambassador is going to be really happy I've talked about him this much. But me seeing him get as into pickleball as he has really given him a whole new community. Mm-hmm. And it feels like a new life, way different than youth sports. So you're attracting just a different type of visitor into a destination.
I'll give you a great example. A lady, she was out of Chicago, Illinois. She's the director of a 55-plus assisted living facility. So again, these folks aren't very mobile. They started pickleball. They basically took a room that had a hardwood floor, drew lines, and put a net. It wasn't the regulation size, but started playing. The first month, 6 people fell and had to go to the hospital. The board of directors said, we're stopping this. There was a mutiny. So they left. The staff leaves during the day. The seniors came down, put the lines back on the floor again, put the net up. And the next month, one person fell and had to go to the hospital. By the third month, nobody fell, and their mobility had increased 100%. They had never seen a program change the lives of seniors like that. The reason we're working with them is because we have an interest in, the athletic stance. And so teaching the seniors before they start down that road, hey, don't put your feet together and try to lean over because Grandma Jones is going to tip over, right? And so teaching them some basic things on how to do that makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And what do you look for in a destination partnership that helps enhance that overall visitor experience?
Yeah, I think one is a commitment to service, right? Serving the community. So we're looking to serve the community. We're not looking to make any money on the tournaments. We're looking to break even. And then we have some numbers, right? We're looking for certain numbers. We do what are called circuit events or certified circuit events, which you probably have those already today. Those are your local tournaments that are going on. And if you would like to increase the number of 50 and above players there, contact us and we will work with you to get seniors to your tournaments. And so if you're already doing that, we would love to help you do that. The only thing that we ask is you give $10 off the registration to our member. We don't ask for any money to support that, and we'll help you market that and do that. Our regional events are anywhere from probably 100 to about 300 players. We're normally looking for 12 to 16 courts. We've come to find out, for example, we just did one in Raleigh. 20% of the people were from Raleigh. 80% of the people came from out of state. So they're looking for rooms and those type of things. So we are now starting to look for indoor or covered courts. Opelika put I think they park cars. It's carports, they put carports out there so they cover their courts. But it's a great idea in that we can play even if it's raining, because we would hate for a senior to come down from another state and not be able to play. So we're looking for some portion of the courts to be covered. Also, our time frame, we like to run January through August on our regional events. And so we did tournaments and regional events in Opelika, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Punta Gorda, Florida. And we have upcoming tournaments in Madison, Wisconsin, Fayetteville, Arkansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. Our zone championships, which are larger tournaments, are 300 to 600 players. We run 6 of those a year scattered throughout the country, minimum of 16 to 24 courts. We prefer all courts to be covered, and January to June is the time period that we're looking for. And then we do a national championship. The national championship last year was in Daytona Beach, Florida. It was in the October to December time period. This one just happened to be the first week in December. Who doesn't want to go to Florida first week in December? 1,000 players. It was an incredible event. 24 to 36 courts is what we're looking for. It rained 4 of the days. We took 41 courts and put them on 13 indoor courts, but everybody played. No one went home without playing the games that they had signed up for. And so looking to do that. We'll host about 400 events around 170 locations throughout the United States. And so if you're interested in one of those events, please reach out.
You answered about 4 of my questions in one. But you mentioned a few destinations. I know Auburn Opelika is right in front of us. Mm-hmm. And so what is it about a destination like that you look for in terms of partnership?
Yeah, so we, if you play me in board games, I cheat. So I'm just telling you that up front, right? So I kind of like to have cards up my sleeve. So we do 12 regional tournaments at least a year. And the reason of that is 6 of them we're looking to grow, right? Opelika, we did last year. We did it this year. Virginia Beach was the same. 100 the first year at Virginia Beach, 200 last year. So someone in the previous panel mentioned a growth. We're looking to grow with you these tournaments. I mean, our goal is to serve as many seniors as we can get on those courts. That's our objective. We also believe, I call it diamond in the rough. There are diamonds in the rough. Opelika was a diamond in the rough. I'm like, Opelika? Yeah, we have to be able to spell the destination to go to it. How are we going to get to Opelika? And we did it the first year. Incredible. Our members loved it. The people that came out loved it. The people in the community were wonderful. We have people in Florida talking about Opelika. And by the way, I think there's an Opelika in Florida, so I think there's some confusion there. So I said, no, that's in Alabama. That's the good one, right? And they love it. And so definitely an opportunity to connect.
Awesome. Do we have any questions from the crowd? Yep, Jordan.
Yeah, so you mentioned you guys, you're hosting events over throughout the country and stuff. Is that USSP owning and operating and running those events, or you relying on a local club to run the tournament at your facility?
The answer is yes, right? So we do both, right? We don't have 400 people. We contract out a lot of stuff. The way I kind of look at it this way, if it's more of a local tournament, right, it has a local flair and things, let local people run it. Right. I think that's the key, especially if you have someone qualified. If they need help, right? In some cases, they just need support. So we'll send people in some cases to help support. And then for our bigger tournaments, we either run them or contract them out. And so it depends on the size of the event. The event in Pictona, we hired 4 contractors. We fed 100 volunteers. It's kind of a nice thing to feed your volunteers. And I think I had 6 people from USSP, the organization down there, that helped. And that's how we kind of make things happen.
Awesome. That's great. Any other questions? Yep. Rachel.
So, I feel like I've spoken to several people from senior pickleball over time. Remind me, do you have like regional folks that do like out
We-
the north?
Yes. Jen Kendrick, right? It would be Jen Kendrick. It's we have zone directors. We have 6 zones. So, and I can share those names with you if you're interested in that. Those are great contacts. They're the ones actually picking the locations where we should, reach out. And there's an active group of seniors there. And so, we do work with locations, and we are getting better with working with you all to make that happen.
Awesome. Well, this has been great, Tony. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I should say, if anyone wants to get in contact with you, I know we can all connect today, but what is the best way to contact you?
Email is probably the best. Tony at usseniorpickleball.com is pretty easy. Just shoot me a message. I have cards on the table, so you're welcome to a card. Or you could find us on our website at usseniorpickleball.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. Ollie, thanks for being here.
Of course.
Yeah. Could you give a bit about your background and what you do at 3-Step?
Sure. So grew up playing sports like most people in here. Played softball, played field hockey, hated running. So softball really is the one that won out. So I was lucky enough to get a scholarship to go play at UMass Lowell. So that put me in Massachusetts, and then graduated, did exactly what my parents wanted me to do, go get a job with my degree. So I went to the riveting world of investment banking. Did that for a while, wasn't ready to give up the dream. So I'm coaching 14U softball, program, local, knew nobody. Did that for about 3 years. And then the owner said, "Hey, we got bought." And I'm like, "I'm just a 1099. What does that mean?" He's like, "Yeah, this company called 3-Step Sports bought us. It's going to be really big. I think it's going to be something. So stick around, let us know." So probably about a year later, I go hand in my coaching contract to this random office. And I'm like, why do I have to hand in this contract? This feels very corporate. And I'm talking to the woman who was the COO at the time. And she's like, "Do you want a job?" And I was like, "I coach 14U softball. Why are you offering me a job?" I'm like, "What's the job?" And she was like, "There's not really titles. We have about 40 people. We're trying to acquire some clubs and expand." So I'm like, "All right, let's do this." I quit my job. My mom's like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" I'm like, "This feels right. This feels like something I should do." And 7 years later, I found myself in a handful of operation roles, and now we have 1,500 employees, and I'm the vice president of one of our largest regions. So
Awesome.
it was quite the spin.
And I know most people in this room probably know of 3-Step, and I know there's been a lot of change that's gone through the organization. Can you kind of give everyone an idea of what your role is within the organization and what you oversee today?
For sure. So 3-Step Sports started off as we were going to get some clubs, and then we had a partnership at the time with Under Armour. So we were going to be like, if anyone has a baseball or softball background, how there's Team Mizuno, we thought we were going to be like Team Under Armour and kind of spread that way. That, as many of you know, things change fast in sports. That vision lasted about 6 months. And we started bringing in event companies, clubs. We expanded from just baseball and softball into basketball. Today we have 7 sports. We've acquired over 60 companies. And we really just rolled into this growth and acquisition model. And our primary purpose is modernizing youth sports. So for all you guys we've talked so much about these RFPs, and you need data. And I'm sure the data you get is not good. And by not good, I mean non-existent, not real. We have continued to figure out why is youth sports been this. Why am I handing you a paper raffle ticket to get in? You're paying with cash. There's no legitimacy to it. You don't know where your money's going, and that you don't know where the refs came from, the coaches. So our vision was we need to modernize this. This needs to be better for everybody involved. It needs to be safer. It needs to be more athlete focused, and we just want to continue to empower people, our players, our families, our staff through sport, and that's been our vision. So in the process of acquiring over 60 companies. We've continued to grow, and through bringing all of this in-house, we're able to see what works, what doesn't work, and provide the best for not only our athletes and our families, but the cities that we bring impact to as well.
And I know that you work with a lot of destination partners that are here today. Could you give an example of a successful partnership and what really stands out from that partnership?
For sure. So I think one of my favorite stories to talk about is, and they happen to be here, is Rock Hill.
Yeah.
So like I said, I have been at 3Step for 7 years, and the seat I sit in today is new and different. It came from, I was taking gate on weekends during COVID because we couldn't hire outside staff because it wasn't safe. And, I've had every job that there could be. So when we did have the Adidas contract, Rock Hill had, recently started taking in these like bigger name clients with their center. So Adidas comes in and we're not really sure how it's going to work. And I'm like, well, let's get on the plane and let's go. I've never heard of Rock Hill, South Carolina. And I can't imagine like what this place looks like, because as you all know, the space it takes to build a really beautiful facility is usually not in the middle of like New York. It's in somewhere you've probably never heard of. So I walk in and I'm like, wow, this place is beautiful. That's a great start. Then we meet their staff, and the staff from the minute we walked in was rolling out the red carpet. And that's not something that needs to be done, but that's something you remember. And I was like, is this normal? Like, is this because you're Adidas? And they're like, this is how they treat every person that walks in this door. And it's something I will remember forever. And like I said, this is not something that we expect. Like, we come here, we do a job, but they're offering staff, they're offering help. I mentioned that I really love the Powerball that one of the volunteer hospitality people had for breakfast that morning. And she drove 30 minutes to get me my own pack, which I was like, it's the hospitality piece and the thoughtfulness that really changed things for us. And whenever we're looking to do an event, and if two places are tied, it really is those like extra pieces that make us rethink like, okay, maybe we really should go here because our experience is going to be that much better. They're going to care that much more. And Brian knows things were not always seamless. Like, we've had some weird stuff happen while we've been there. And that's the place I want things to go wrong, because I know I have an incredible team with our 3Step team and the city and every person that they can reach helping us get through the event.
That's incredible. I mean, we've seen it just through doing this conference, how important that partnership is. And just the small things go such a long way. And so where are you looking to expand now? I know you guys are all across the country. Are there any opportunities for new destinations to host one of your events?
Yeah, I think I was saying this to Kerri the other night, and we go to so many of these shows, and for anyone who's done appointments with us, you sit down with me and you're like, I have this awesome forecourt facility. I can't bring a huge event that's going to make massive economic impact to your forecourt facility. It is beautiful. It is well built. It does not serve the need that I have. And I'm willing to sit there and say that back, because if we're not having an honest conversation, I think it was mentioned up on the RFP process, honesty and transparency is so important. I think it's one of the biggest things lacking in the destination and rights holders relationship. I think knowing the rights holder side of things, some of the destinations tell me what another rights holder told them, and I am not in their books. But as someone who does the books and the numbers and the real economic impact on these things, it just doesn't sound real. It's not possible. And I don't think that they're doing it because I think they're trying to get a check. And that is not how you build a relationship. And just like you guys said, you're going to pick up that phone. And if one person gets burned, no other city is going to get burned, because everyone's going to hear that. So for us, the honest answer is, for the last 3 years, I didn't have anything. I didn't have this new cool thing that I could just put in your city and say, this is going to create massive economic impact. That's just not real. And if someone does, I hope 3Step buys them. And if we're not, they might not have it. But we do now. And so recently, and I don't know if any of you guys follow us, we recently partnered with the UFC doing their BJJ series, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Outside of the title, I know nothing about the sport, so please don't ask follow-up questions on that.
That was my next question.
But what I do know is it's partnered with the UFC, it's traveling around, and for the first time, I can, in full honesty, say, we are looking for a new place that could accommodate jiu-jitsu. And that's, indoor event space. It's not just courts, it's not just fields, it's just, it's essentially really large elevated warehouse space, which can be courts, but if you have, cemented in hoops, it's not going to work for us. So they can bring the mats in. And we're really excited about this. It's a new partnership. Obviously, the UFC is an incredible partner. But now we can go out and say, we have an RFP. Here's an opportunity for us to do something new that, we weren't able to honestly say before. So we're super excited about that as we continue to grow.
That's awesome. Does anyone have a question for Ari? Specifically about jiu-jitsu?
Except for the rules of jiu-jitsu.
Well, yeah, Jordan.
So you mentioned you guys have acquired like different event companies, also, but a lot of us have different facilities, but Rockland obviously, so you have big quarters with guys already. But for any beach sports or any kind of things that are more outside of the box, for you guys specifically.
Yeah, our UFC and combat division is definitely the most unique. And then outside of that, we're really in the traditional sports. Flag football is now also feeling very traditional, whereas, 2 or 3 years ago, it wasn't. And field hockey as well. From needs, very traditional, but just you're not seeing that a ton across the country. Those are our biggest niche areas right now. But one thing that I think is really, really important, we have this white label side of us where, we're putting on events in the past it was an Adidas, today it's an Under Armour. And so we're running that event on behalf of that company. We have the rights to that event, but we're running it under another brand. So I do think it's really interesting as, all the destinations, if you have a massive need that, maybe they built a BJJ facility and you can reach out to us and say, I need something in here and I don't know if I can, but if you have the idea and we can work together, you can then propose me an idea of here's the preset funding. And we are operators. We're the best operators in the country. We know our craft. We do this all over. We run 1,500 events a year from the highest of high to the lowest of low. So if you have a need, we would love to come in and see if we can support that, because this is relationship based and we can create that relationship and not only see if we can grow something with your city, but also bring more there that fits our other needs.
Any other questions? Yep.
Yeah, indoor and outdoor. So we have lacrosse, soccer, field hockey for our outdoor, and then indoor we have basketball, volleyball. We do some futsal. BJJ is inside. Maybe we do an outdoor event. I don't know if that's possible. Maybe we have some idea.
We'll find out. We have a lot of
I'm going to learn a lot about combat in my future, and then football as well. So we run the Under Armour All-American football series, which is individual based, and then we also run and host the Under Armour All-American game that's on ESPN on New Year's Day every year.
Well, Ari, thank you so much. If anyone wants to get in contact with you, how should they find you?
You have my email. It's my first name, last name at 3step.com. Spell out 3 because the number 3 is a domain we could not get. So
interesting. Okay, well, thank you, Ari. Appreciate it. Steve, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Kerri. I'm just feeling like we should have some ferns up here.
I know.
Tell some off-color jokes and have fun and be honest and open here.
Honestly,
So next year, Ryan, make sure that we have ferns up on stage. I think everybody else would enjoy that.
That's all on him. No, that's him.
Yeah, Ryan, thank you.
Well, I just want to get started. A lot of people probably don't know exactly who XTERRA is and what it is you do there. So could you just start by giving a bit of background of your organization?
Yeah, absolutely. XTERRA started 30 years ago. A lot of people don't know that. We're started in Hawaii as an off-road triathlon. And so when I say off-road, they swam in the ocean, they mountain biked, and then they trail run. And so they started cross triathlon. We established that 30 years ago. Then over that time, we started growing. We started expanding globally. We had a race series that wasn't just in the US, it was in Europe and Asia. And then over the years, we've morphed. Fast forward to where we are now. Like I said, we're celebrating our 30th year. Originally, it was specifically focused on competition. We've morphed over the last several years and really have changed our vision, our values to be more of an immersive experience, still with the focus of also being more of an active outdoor lifestyle and brand. With some of our activations happen to be the triathlon world, which is cross triathlon or trail running world. In addition to that, we have our content media teams, and then we have our apparel side. And so we've really restructured, regrown, rebranded. Now, here we are, we call almost phase 2, but we are our 30th year. We also feel like we're starting over with a community focus. And it's a very vibrant, active outdoor sport, but also really trying to embrace nature, bringing people, whether you're a competitive athlete, an experienced elite athlete, or someone is just new into their own challenges, getting out and experiencing nature. And that's through the trails, that's through the competitions, the events that we hold.
Could you give everyone an idea of the scale of your events and just how big the organization is?
Absolutely. So XTERRA Global, which is the company, the organization, I want to say company, the organization I'm with, we are based into 3 regions. We have the Asia Pacific region, we have EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And so that's our second region. And then my role directly is I oversee all the Americas, both North and South America. I'm also the director of global event strategy, and that's the refocusing of creating our events to be more immersive and engaging.
And your organization is continuing to grow across the states. And so,
absolutely. If we just focus on the U.S. specifically, we've had to really look at a shift of what our events look like. Before they were, I would call it like a dime a dozen, had licensed events everywhere, but there was really no quality or value in those events, not only just for the organization or a brand, but for the communities they were in. And so over the past several years, we've had to relook at what makes sense for us. It's elevating the community. And so we start focusing on community, elevating brands, it's finding partners, organizations that see value in themselves or communities as well as we do, and then create an experience that people want to take part of and be proud of, whether you're racing for your first time or competing, or you're coming to an event and experiencing the festival aspect that showcases the cultural aspect of that. It's definitely a whole shift that we've been taking on, and it's actually working, and it's seen that across the globe.
I think that's something that really stood out about your brand is just the importance of that community.
Yeah. Community is our first and foremost. Without community and strengthening our community, there is no sport there, and that could be any event or any region or any activity. You've got to have the support, the buy-in, the willingness to look at change, to be able to elevate what introducing your community. So for us, it's the XTERRA athlete and racers or participants to the communities we go in, as well as the communities we partnership, working with them to integrate their community and introduce them to our lifestyle. And really, that's when magic happens, when everybody comes to the table and rises. And then that's where, the activation, the long-term commitments and value grows on both sides.
And it is unique, just the venue types that you need.
Yes.
So most cities are eligible or some sort of partnership with you. So
and I'm glad you bring that up. Yeah, yes, number one, we are trail sports driven. We are activity driven, such as, if you look at triathlon, you obviously need a body of water, trails to run on, mountain bike on. In our trail running world, you need, trails that we have the various distance with our Trail Run World Series, qualifying events that either half marathon, full marathon distance. We're also looking at, you can go anywhere and have a race, but you can't go everywhere and have an experience. And what creates a positive experience is that relationship you have with the community. A lot of things that were brought up that you just addressed earlier is, that dynamic, that want, that willingness of those communities to have you come in. That is what we're looking for. And so, like I said, you can have a race anywhere, but you cannot have an experience. And that starts with me and with our organization is talking with communities that know their value. Their values match our values. And how can we grow together to achieve goals? I ask a lot of specific questions, and I've talked with Ryan, Sean. Part of what we look for coming into a community is organizations that know what their values. What are your goals? I always understand that, yes, you have your transit room taxes or your room nights. Those are the goals that are specific need goals, but what is your long-term goals? What are those? How can we work to achieve those? Is it to be stronger in the outdoor fitness area? Is it to have an active lifestyle in the community? Being able to identify what those goals will help match our goals. And if they don't, it's okay. It's not always a good fit. So that is what we're looking at coming in and creating that experience as in just one and done. We're looking at multiple years. We're looking at building and elevating and growing a series.
I think the community and experience piece is such a common theme in every conversation that I have with organizations. And so do you have an example of a successful partnership that you have had and what stood out from that partnership?
Oh, absolutely. Right off the bat, town in New Mexico most people have probably never heard of is Ruidoso, New Mexico. This is a mountain town that is situated between El Paso, Texas and Albuquerque. The example of this was a few years ago, their sales director and community engagement gentleman reached out to me on LinkedIn, and it was like, hey, Steve, I'm so-and-so from Ruidoso, and we feel like we have what it takes to have an XTERRA race there. And I'm like, okay, I hear that quite often. And let's just start, talking with them, kind of vetting process, asking him the questions. What is it that you want? Blah, blah, blah. He was there to answer the questions, and he was persistent. Ended up fast forward, flying out a few months later coming into a site visit. I get down there, he's asking me, all these questions, when are you going to get here? When are you going to get here? And the reason why is when I pull up, they had all the city council, they had the mayor, the chief of police, chief of fire, everybody that we require for operations for a successful event in our RFP and or bid document is what we call it, was there. And they met me. Number one, it was welcoming. They understood what they wanted. They understood their values. Fast forward, he had set up several meetings. Again, welcome. Hey, this is where we are. This is, a listing of trails. We go out to where we had the swim at the lake. They had the high school marching band there, and the cross-country team welcomed me. Big signs, Ruidoso welcomed Steve Andrus, XTERRA, and then from there, just kept going on. So you get the picture, the branding, but they knew what they wanted. They knew that they wanted to change the vision of their town. They wanted to rebrand who they were, not just for, the current tourism model, but to something different, which is to elevate and promote active outdoor lifestyle. That met our models. Fast forward, a couple years later, we are now moving our world championships from Italy this year to Ruidoso, New Mexico. And it goes into the fact that the support was there, the drive, they knew what they wanted, and then the support and their values and mission and goals matched ours. And that's what made it a success.
That's awesome. I think we could do a whole episode just on the importance of a site visit.
Oh, absolutely.
And what stands out with that. But for the sake of time.
Yeah, no, I could talk all day.
For the partnership side of things, I think, what are the actual bare minimum requirements in order to host one of your events?
Number one, bare minimum is we will need access to trails. We really would like to have the energy or the event or festival near community, because that's, like I said, it's most important. You can go out and have a trail race out in the middle of nowhere and have a triathlon in the middle of nowhere. That is not successful. We want to bring our participants to your community. We want them to finish. We want them to nearby, but then have activities that are already established and be able to show them why they want to come there. And so, again, trails anywhere you can have, but if it's near a community or there's access to that type of support that we're looking for to embrace the community and drive awareness, that is what we want. And the thing that I tell people when we go into these discussions is like, you can go anywhere and have an event once. Success is when it comes back a couple of years. But the key to success fully is when those participants, that whether it's a triathlete, a trail runner, or any other sport, want to come back and experience your destination outside of the event. And that's what we really try to embrace and help support those needs. And so creating that experience, getting them a taste of the town, if there's already events taking place, capture on that, it helps.
That's awesome. Any questions from you guys?
Sweet. Ryan. Trail running is growing. Yes, it is. Yeah. He's got trail running shoes right on, Ryan.
I actually have trail running shoes too.
He's got trail run shoes. Trail running, actually, that market is definitely taking off. You've got ultra trail running. You've got the long distance trail running, which are the 50 to 100 mile to some of those. Trail running for us is the highest probability and potential for potential growth and expanding our brand and brand awareness. With that being said, there is a saturation of events that is out there, but they're quality events at each area. We're looking at, with our trail run series, I talked about the experience, because you've got the barriers of those competitive elements, but how do you reach that new participant? How do you get into those folks that may have never wanted to necessarily be racing competitively, but they want to get off the couch and do a 5K, 10K trail run. And how do we capture that audience and then turn them into these other longer participants, which all of our big races can have a qualifier to our world championships, including the trail run. So we're looking at our model is not your full long distance. It's a half marathon and a full marathon for part of the trail run series. But we're now looking at how do we include and work with communities to make it immersive and fun. I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of folks forget is that we've got to look at fun, that they want to keep doing it. And then how do we capture that? How do we work with our communities and then to partner with them to be able to help them promote and again, look at that fun element that people are involved, they get a taste of it and they want to come back. And that may lead up to other events and or activities. Like I said, biggest thing for us isn't the race, it's the experience. And so, we've taken that paradigm shift from being the leading triathlon, off-road triathlon company to now really making an immersive experience, including trail run and or that. So hope that answers your question.
Well, Steve,
Right on.
thank you so
again.
much. If anyone wanted to reach you.
Steve.andrus@xterraplanet.com. Get a hold of anybody at Playeasy. They know how to find me. So thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you. Harvey, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, could you start off by giving a little bit of your background and what it is you do at XTERRA Athletics?
Yeah, sure. Like most, I played sports through high school, college, still had that itch. And so I went into coaching as well. And then, started training some athletes around the neighborhood and the communities. And I kind of discovered and founded H3 on accident. So from training kids and things like that, we grew into a club organization. We were the first ones to launch 7-on-7 football in Indiana and mostly in the Midwest. And then our tryouts just kept growing. We started out with 17, 18 kids. And then by year 2 or 3, we were about 130 kids. And so I saw the pattern there. And so we created our club team. Then we were approached by, it was then IMG NFA to host a tournament. And so I hosted a tournament, the first tournament back in 2011. And so we've been doing it since. And so now we've expanded it across different platforms, tournaments, leagues, camps, showcases, exposure events, media-driven events, and things like that. So,
could you give people an idea of just some of those bigger brands and then where in the country that you're currently located?
Yeah, our largest brand is Elite Sevens. It's the 7-on-7 platform. We operate in multiple states across the Midwest. We're really based in the Midwest, but we have ventured over to Florida. We're looking at new destinations now. We started, listening to the destination guys early. Be honest, right? Be honest. We started, one of our largest events started with 6 teams. And then in year 8, we're at 178 teams.
Wow.
So, just be honest and be upfront, be transparent on that. And so Elite Sevens is our largest brand there. And then we have some other entities that we have brand wise with basketball. And then we're trying to get our hand in soccer. We've hosted USA boxing sanctioned events as well. So we're not your typical event organizer. We'll produce other events. We're producing a pretty large event next month at Grand Park. So we're excited.
Love Grand Park.
Yeah.
Huge space to actually have all of those participants. But I want to talk about just that event that went from those 6 teams to over 100 teams.
Mm-hmm.
What was the reason for that? And is there anything that stood out in terms of partnership?
Yeah, I think partnership and consistency, right? Quality. You got to keep the athlete, the parent in mind when you're running events. There's been a shift. You used to be able to roll a ball out and just play wherever, right? But now they want value in whatever event because those families are making a commitment that weekend, right? So they got to see value in it. And so what we've done, we've been strong in far as content. Content's an anchor to all of our events. And it's just not to promote the event. We create storylines, different things like that. And so we try to create platforms for athletes, which is why I started H3 in the first place, right? It was all about access. Yeah. And so that's why it's grown the way it has.
Yeah, and I know that you are big in content and part of your brand is a marketing brand as well. And so what has been the ROI on investing in that type of content and the overall storytelling of your organization? Yeah,
just like I said, the shift, right? The ROI is really what athletes expect, right? So now, they understand media more now than ever, right? Especially with NIL and different PBAs. that are out there, that's what they expect. And so we really push hard on that. It's not an afterthought for us, so our events are really built around content and, it's very important. So,
And I know you guys are growing across multiple different sports. And so what is it that you're looking for out of a host city?
Fit, right? It has to be fit. And the destination really, sells the event, right? So, you can get a facility or a venue, all right, and that will host the event, right? But the destination hosts the weekend. So the destination has to be, great value, has to, the proximity of hotels and things to do with the siblings. Games, especially in 7-on-7 football, games are fast. So like, games are like 20 minutes. And, they start every 30 minutes. So you'll play fast. So you'll be there maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then you got to find something else to do with your day. So it's very important. Yeah.
It's all about the event experience. And so do you have an example of a current partnership that you have that really stood out to you?
Yeah. Actually, recently, Casey Current, they were very solid. And the reason why is they were the communication early, right? It's important to lead, especially destinations, as we were listening earlier, transparency, communicating, right? That goes both ways, right? And so, I want to say they found us through, Playeasy because they reached out to us. And so, very early on, heavy in communication, laid out exactly what they wanted, what they were looking for, and the reason why they wanted us. So they knew about our event as well. So that was very impressive. And then it didn't stop from when the bid was won, right? It was way before the whistles were even blown or the games were final. So they were in part of the process the entire time. Especially, it was unique because the World Cup, so Argentina was there. So there was a lot of different moving parts during our national championship, but they were excellent, hands on the whole time.
That's awesome. I think that's one of the reasons we started the podcast, because I think from a RFP perspective, sometimes you think you know what you want out of a location or a city.
Yeah.
And so being able to communicate all of this is really hard to do in just one RFP. And so what is it that you're looking for out of a new host city?
Yeah, so event fit. So understand who our athlete or who our families are, travel patterns, you know, things to do, support, right? Marketing support and then, we're not a large rights holder. So we're not going to come in knocking on your door and asking for $100,000 and run an event. We're not going to do that. We understand who we are and what we do well. So, that's what we look for. And then we look for sites that want to help us build. Because like I said, that tournament went from 6 teams to 178 teams. So
Awesome. Do we have any questions from? Yep, Jordan.
Branching out from the Midwest, like your example in Florida, most of your teams from the Midwest go to that tournament there, or you can incorporate out to in the Florida area and also for some teams in surrounding counties, or how do the pickup go for those branching events outside?
yeah, sure. We do have a pretty good following. When we do go to Florida, we do get a pretty good following across the coast. Most of our events, I would say relatively probably about 30% are local, regional. So we do get a lot of travel out of state. So we're excited about going back to Florida again in 27. And then we're going to be looking at some other sites as well. Yeah. So
oh gosh, it's gonna be another podcast.
I'm about to go viral. Candidly, yes, it's kind of difficult. I've done it numerous ways. I've dealt with third party agencies. I've done with the CVBs, and then they've helped out with hotels. Um, you know, and the problem is I'd rather work with a party like that who can provide the data, right? So when we come back and we have something to measure metric wise, we kind of have an idea of actual how many rooms were booked, right? So because room nights don't really tell the whole story as far as local impact, right? But destinations want to know, and we also want to know too. So we do currently work with one, and they were fine this past year, but I laid off for the last couple of years, not working with one. So.
Awesome. Another question? Yep.
Harvey, you and I talked a bunch last night.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Yeah.
I think it might even be a good piece for everybody else to hear what we were kind of talking about. When you talk about event fit, where do you see success, not from the destination, but from the venue perspective? Like, where do you have better success or different success in like city and parks and rec kind of facilities. Talking about like third party facilities that maybe some of our destinations that can you like
it was. We were talking. It was rare to see. I can't remember the gentleman's name yesterday, where the parks and everybody got along. So that's
These guys right here.
that's a rare occasion. So there's a lot of red tape to get through when you're dealing with parks most of the time, because they're not so much sports tourism driven as a private owned facility is. So there are some pain points, but you can work through them, right? The issue is getting everybody, right? So to us is partner alignment, right? So when we're looking at a destination, okay, is everybody in alignment and interested in growing this thing? If there's any kind of friction that being caused because the disconnect, is probably a no-go for us.
Awesome. Any other questions? Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
As far as like field types, do you prefer turf or grass? All location, or you found multiple locations?
I've done both. As far as multiple locations, logistically it's kind of tough, but I'm sure 3-step they probably do the same thing where they got to operate different locations, especially basketball. As far as turf, if we're going specific football, for us, if you're in the Midwest, turf, because the weather changes. You know what I mean? Just wait an hour, it'll be something different. But we're not opposed to grass. So when we get along the coast, obviously, grass is done really well, right? And so, but no, we have no opposition to whether it's grass or turf. For average tournament for us is 4 full-size fields. So you can host roughly about 65, 70 teams.
Yeah. Any other questions? I know, just to close this out, you recently put through an RFP for the Elite Sevens football.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you were looking for that RFP?
That's good question.
Okay.
A partner, right? A partner. That's what we're looking for. Like I said, somebody who's interested in building, and understanding who we are and what we bring. It works on both ends, so not a region specific, I guess I should say. We're not really looking at a region specific. Like I said, we operate 6 states in the Midwest. So we're looking to get out of the Midwest and more. We want to get to the West as well, but South Carolina is on my list as well. So
we asked some good questions today.
Yeah.
Well, you guys will both be there tonight, so you can connect them. But,
absolutely.
Harvey, thank you so much. And
Thank
if
you.
anyone wants to get in contact with you, what's the best way?
Sure. Email's fine. Harvey@h3athletics.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Harvey.
All right,
appreciate
thank
it. Jacob, thank you so much for being here.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and National Esports Collegiate Conference?
Yeah, I have, this is not a choice that I made intentionally. I sort of stumbled into the esports space. I spent over 2 decades in quote unquote traditional college athletics, primarily at the Division II and Division III level. And I was a Division III athletic conference commissioner. And the schools that I worked for, they wanted to begin offering and sponsoring esports. So I said, okay, I work for you. Sure, whatever you want. I said, I know nothing about it. I still know very little about it. I said, I know nothing about it, but if we're going to do it, we're going to do it just like any of the other traditional sports we offer. So we weren't going to have a Rocket League tournament over a weekend and say we sponsored esports. That was not authentic to me, as little as I knew. So I said, we're going to do seasons, we're going to do championships, anything that women's soccer or men's basketball or anything like that got, our esports student athletes were also going to receive. And they said, fine, that sounds great, sure. And we were sort of off and running. And then being a tiny Division III athletic conference, I said, I need help. And they said, okay, we can give you an intern because we have no money because we're a Division III athletic conference. So they gave me a student who was a gamer, and he and I sort of started this thing. And he really taught me about the space, about collegiate. And I think his expertise in the gaming side and my expertise in sort of traditional athletics was a really good blend. And we sort of tried to merge the two and make what we now have today, which is the largest collegiate esports conference in North America.
It's amazing. Could you give people an idea of the scale of the organization?
Yeah, it's really humbling. We work with about 650 colleges and universities throughout North America at this point. Some are full members with 50 teams that compete with us across our core titles, and some have one team that compete with us. And that's sort of the beautiful thing. It's sort of the unique thing about esports right now is that there's really no two programs are alike. We work with schools that have 8-figure budgets devoted to the esports program with full scholarships across teams and coaches and everything, staffs like in a traditional athletic department in many ways. And then we work with student clubs and organizations that are like, hey, we have a Valorant team, can we compete? And we're like, we'll find a way to work with you. And I'm really proud of that fact. We have really intentionally tried to remove the barriers. We are still the cheapest multi-title collegiate league out there. This is a space where not a lot of schools have devoted a lot of funding as of yet to the esports space. And we're really proud that we're able to work with so many diverse campuses and so many, programs that look very, very different across their sponsorship efforts.
I think esports is a sport that people in our industry are still trying to overall conceptualize what actually is the sport, the competition, the types of venues you need and what you need for it. So could you speak to those 4 factors?
Yeah, first of all, hats off to you for referring to it as a sport. That's a big differentiator, and that's kind of a hot topic in the space. For me, I really don't care. They practice, they watch video, they communicate, sort of has a lot of the beats and rhythms of traditional athletics in many ways. For us, we're very unique. We don't need fields. We don't need space. We need space, but we need ballrooms like this where we can set up computers and stations and come together and compete. And what's really unique, I think, from an outsider, even me, you think, well, they're just going to be on their computers competing. Why do they have to come together? Like, the beautiful thing about this is that everybody can do this anywhere they want, right? Like football, they need a field. Basketball, we need a gym. We need those things to compete. Well, with us, they could compete in their dorm. They could compete in their lab. They could compete in their classroom, wherever their facility may be. They compete in their home, for that matter. But for our championship efforts and for the different avenues and efforts that we, all the different conferences we work with and host their championship events or support their championship events, we do need a space where we can come together. We need an infrastructure. A lot of it's really IT heavy and in that way. And we need that infrastructure. And ultimately we need, someone that wants to work with us. And I don't say that like, in jest. I mean that seriously, because it is not your typical like RFP process. Like, it's not going to be like, we have 4 fields, we have 18 courts, we have these things. Like for us, and I put our RFP out there and people reach out and they're like, this sounds interesting, but I have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm like, me neither. This is great. We're going to get along fine. But it's an interesting environment in that, our recent championship, which we held last month, we had 3,700 people over the course of 3 days. We had over 1,000 student athletes compete. It was the largest scholastic esports event to date. And I'm really proud of that fact that we had a great partner at the venue in San Antonio, and that's where we've been in the last couple of years. But it's those type of things where we sort of grow and build this together in terms of what this looks like and what the future of this space may hold.
And logistically, I know you say you don't know what you're doing, but there has to be some sort of baseline for what is needed for a championship type event. So could you speak to some of those logistics? Yeah,
it's basically stations. And what I mean by a station is like a full computer setup, right? Like desk, space, computer, monitor. And the student athletes typically will bring their own peripherals. So headsets, keyboards, mice, things of that nature. But it's always good to have extras because things break, things go sideways, something happens with a cable or a cord. In terms of really what we need is we need a massive facility. The place we've been each of the last 2 years in San Antonio is like a 40,000 square foot facility, and they're built for esports. It was it was an effort. We just need space where we can come in and sort of set up and work with our partners to help set up their stations and unload crates of monitors and these things, so that we can set them up and that people can come in and compete and, have that in-person competitive experience, which to that community, while you might not think, again, to that point of like, well, they can do it in their basement, they can do it in their dorm room, whatever, the in-person element of competition is really special. And I think it's really eye-opening, especially for people like myself. I, for a long time, was very skeptical about like, well, what difference does it make? When you see the in-person competition and you see people compete in a game, even though they're looking at a screen and they're like this close, and you're like, oh my God, this is mind blowing. But then you see the hug, and you see the high five, and you see the fist bump, and you see the slam down of the controller or the mouse or whatever in frustration. You're like, this is it, right? This is a real thing that we're watching, and it's really cool for those student athletes, which typically, again, traditional student athletes, they go to gyms, they go to fields. That's all they know. By and large, about 99.9% of our competition is done virtually. So when they have the opportunity to compete in person, it's like, holy cow. And for many of them, regardless of outcome at this juncture, this will change over the next 10 years, regardless of outcome, they're like, holy cow, that was awesome. I got to go to an event and compete. And the stuff that the traditional student athletes for years have taken for granted with bus rides and flights and trips to visiting gyms and, again, fields, these student athletes have never had the opportunity to do that because all they've done is compete remotely or compete on their own campus or in their own space.
Yeah. I actually recently went to Boise, Idaho. That has one of the best.
It's got a beautiful facility there.
It was very eye-opening to see that kind of space and the amount of people that were competing.
That's on the 8-figure side of the,
of the programs.
That's Q's on that side.
But I know that you've said you've been in San Antonio a few times, but could you speak to some of the other spaces that you've held some of your championship events?
Yeah, we've done everything from on-campus lounges, facilities with 18, 24 station setups. We do an event in Maine every year where they have their own little consortium of schools in Maine because they don't have huge budgets and they don't have the opportunity to go about, and they wanted to have like a Maine Esports Collegiate Championship, which is kind of cool. It's all the colleges, Division 1, 3, community college, junior college up there, and they come together. We work with which was the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, now the Metro Conference, Division 1 schools. They hosted theirs at Mount St. Mary's this past semester. So on-campus activations work. What was kind of cool about that was, I shouldn't say cool, it was logistically challenging, but it was really unique. They did it in their basketball gym. So it was kind of an interesting venue, like they have an on-campus facility, but they wanted to do something different and special for the competition. Really kind of cool. We've done it from, tiny little spaces, quite frankly, smaller than this, to huge venues. And that's sort of what a lot of people have talked about is like, depending on what we have at our access is sort of what we can bring to an event or to a facility. And then some of that is based on, all right, this is a conference championship, so it's only open to the 8, 9, 10, 12 members of the conference, things like that. And then our championship element, which crosses all of our titles, all of our games, even has a K through 12 integration into it where that's a larger scale type opportunity.
And I think that's what's really interesting about the sport is that most destinations have basketball courts. Not many have the esports location. And so what about that basketball facility or any of the other types of venues that you've had have really stood out?
I think it's the willingness to work together and the fact that we have an IT person sort of on call. These things are going to go sideways. Let's be honest, it can be taxing. Quite honestly, again, this beautiful facility in San Antonio, it's called the Boeing Center at Techport. During our event there in May, the power went out for about 10 minutes. Oh my gosh. Well, that's crippling to an event like ours. Like, that's not like a blip and like, oh, okay, like glimmer, hope it comes back on. Like, it's like, oh God, what are we going to do? Right? So it's never going to be perfect as long as people are on board and ready and willing. And there's also an understanding within this community, and they're, the championship element is never going to go off without, and everybody's spoken to it. That's not unique to esports. Everybody's spoken to the challenges and the problems that occur and arise during an event or during a championship weekend or something like that. As long as the partner, whatever, is willing to help and they're in it and they're, communicative, quite frankly, then we can, by and large, we can get through it together.
Awesome. Any questions? Yeah, Jordan.
So as far as I know you mentioned how LANs or the in-person events are really important for these people for these game events and stuff like that. We've got some experience with Winthrop University here in Rock Hill in South Carolina, and we created esports events outdoors that didn't really focus on the online aspect. It was more they brought their own consoles, switches, that kind of stuff. Are you guys focused on more of the internet hardwired specific games? Are you focused more on the fighting style games where you need less setup? Kind of what does that look like from a standpoint with you guys?
Yeah, it's a good question. Obviously, you have some knowledge with Winthrop and everything going on there. To use the term LAN, so you're in it. For us, and this is again something that I learned. The real traditional gamers play the multiplayer titles. I was like, oh, that's like 2K and FIFA and things like that. Student athletes play those. Like not the gamers playing, not the gaming community. Not to say they can't, but typically they don't. We're growing in the fighting space. It's more popular, but typically for us, I'll be honest, our only core titles are multiplayer titles. So that means 5v5 games or 3v3. We don't do single player titles. We don't offer them as core titles, which for us is defined as a fall split, spring split into a championship event. We want to do multiplayer games where you have to have a sub. You have to have some of those things of traditional athletics where somebody has to finish a paper, the game goes on, right? With single player games, somebody can't show up, you don't have a game. Right. So for us, it's a lot like traditional athletics where it's like, hey, you have subs on your roster. If somebody gets sick, somebody else steps in. So for us, it's typically more hardwired games. The infrastructure has to be pretty good. But we've done tournaments, TFT, fighting games, things of that nature. Smash is obviously wildly popular. We sponsor Smash. We do it in crew battles. So we don't do 1v1 Smash efforts. We do, again, the team element of Super Smash Brothers. So yeah, the opportunity with things like that is sort of the openness of the opportunity in the event and seeing it. Typically our events are housed under roofs and in ballrooms or in facilities like that.
Any other questions? Yep.
So my question is, from a destination point of view, looking to connect and all that kind of stuff, is it helpful, beneficial, required, whatever the phrase may be for you, to have a local college to like end up being like do you have to have a collegiate community, or can it be a one-off destination that maybe has something interesting to offer college kids?
No, it can totally be a one-off destination. The event in San Antonio, we work with a couple local schools there, but it's not really dependent upon that relationship, quite frankly. So to that point, I think the number one question I get is, do we have to have the computers? That's the question we get, is we have to have the infrastructure, because that's a lift. That's challenging. You don't. We work with a lot of partners that want people using their computers, want people being, oh, that's a nice, we work with Asus. So we want to work with them. So they'll loan us equipment, things of that nature. So the short answer to that is absolutely not. It obviously helps. A lot of schools will do it on campus, just like a lot of on-campus championship events will be hosted, but no, we don't need that.
Great. Yep.
Zach Buckles, Ann Arbor. Thanks for being here. As far as this being a unique event, we talk about, not worrying about courts and fields and things like that. And you mentioned having extra mice, keypads, things like that. Are there any specific services that would be unique to this world that us as destinations should be on the lookout for if we were to host an event like this?
It's a very good question. And thanks for hosting us. You beautiful city. It's wonderful to be back. It's been 25 years, and that just means I'm really old. And my staff is all like 25 and younger, so that's really humbling on a day-to-day basis. To answer your question, I think what I would suggest to each of you, and I'm in a unique space in the collegiate hat, more and more states are offering high school state championships in esports. So what I would say to you is be intentional as organizations about working with your state to potentially host those type of things, because those things are growing. Now, our championship events, I think we did 8 total events this past semester, which is a large number. 99% of our competition is remote. But I would work with your states in that way. If you can have that opportunity, if you have that, if you have an infrastructure. University of Michigan has a beautiful facility. They're expanding their facility this year. Their director, their people there are wonderful. Proud to work with them, proud to call them friends. But I think there's more and more opportunities coming online. And the other thing that I would share, that I would go back to, is that just providing an in-person competitive element is going to be awesome for this community right now. Right? Like right now, basketball and football and baseball and softball, they're used to it. They're like, oh, that facility sucks. Right? The people, the community I work with right now, like our championship computers sucked. Like, I'll be honest, like they were not where they should have been for our competitors. And people were grumbling about that, but it didn't affect the experience that they had. Can you imagine if like a football championship, their balls were like terrible, they were deflated, like people would lose their mind. So that's what I would say when you're thinking about potentially diving into or hosting or bidding to host or talking about hosting. Don't feel like it needs to be a 10 out of 10 across the board, because any sort of, again, you don't have to have all the bells and whistles of a land center or a facility or anything like that where you're like, oh my God, this is state of the art. This is awesome. This is what it's made for. There are very few of those in the country. But anything you can offer as long as you show there's care and you want to provide them with a good experience, that's going to be reflected in that community and they're going to have a really good time.
As far as like the type of events you guys run, and obviously these are like NECC events. For example, we've hosted like the Big South Conference Championships. Would you guys like piggyback on stuff we're already doing that's already considered like collegiate? Or would you guys kind of want to be a whole separate entity with that event? Kind of how would you guys operate with stuff we're already doing?
So this will be my greatest downfall as a leader in what we've built. We want to collaborate with everybody. Even if we don't work with, like, we don't work directly with the Big South. We work with a number of the schools within the Big South. We don't work with them in any sort of shape or form. We work with a few Division I conferences. We're working with the Division II conference this year in terms of sponsoring and supporting their competition. We want to piggyback on all that stuff. Like anywhere there's an opportunity to expand, to provide that in-person competition that might not otherwise have been there for our community, sign us up. And I would love to talk to you further about what that looks like, because our footprint now is so humbling, and it's really eye-opening to me that we get to work with so many diverse schools, and represented across the country, and a school in Puerto Rico recently, and so many schools in Canada. But with an opportunity like that, we can invite, let's say, 30 schools that are within 200-mile radius of Rock Hill or anything like that. And now, yeah, there's going to be hierarchy, right? Winthrop's going to be awesome. There's going to be schools that are committed, that have the resources, that have put resources towards that championship or towards that event, whatever it may be. But still, those student athletes, they're going to know, and they're going to know, hey, we're not good enough on our best day, right? The analogy I use is like when I was Division III conference commissioner, my schools would have loved to go down and play Duke in basketball, or Florida or Ohio State or something like that. They're going to get their doors blown off. Those student athletes, they know they can't beat Winthrop on their best day, because that's a really high-level collegiate program that's sponsored at a high level, has a great director, has a great program, but they're still going to have a great experience because they're going to be able to come together and participate in the event, travel. For most of my student athletes, they have never traveled for an esports event in their life. They've played in their dorm, they played in their home, they played in their apartment, but they've never gotten on a bus. They've never taken a van. They've never driven 30 miles, let alone 300 miles, anywhere, stay overnight for a competition, for an event like that. So they really value and appreciate that experience. So I'd love to talk to you further about what that looks like and how we can get involved and piggyback on your event.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Hey, so my question is that throughout your presentation, you use a lot of words like partnership and support and like, wanting the destination to like put on a good show. What does the partnership mean to you? Like, is this primarily based on funding? Do you want us to be there with like a visitor table? Like, what can you just expound more on what the partnership is?
Yeah, honestly, our partnership, and I'll use a couple of examples. Our partnership with San Antonio, there's no funding at all. It's really just, there's the use of the venue, which we have a partner that sort of helps us rent the facility for a weekend or something like that. What I mean by that is, and I think our greatest potential relationship with a venue or with a destination, let's say, is obviously the amount of people that we bring, right? We had 3,500 people, whatever it may be, with 1,000 players, whatever. But I think it's the want to grow with us and support the infrastructure and support the space, because it's growing. We know it's growing each of our years. And one of the things we talk about internally is we're better today than we were yesterday. We'll be better tomorrow than we are today. This is a new space. Right? It's a growing space. So we don't have it all figured out. So I think, to your point, what does it look like? It looks like a commitment. And it doesn't have to be, and I don't mean commitment financially whatsoever. It means, hey, we're invested in you and we want this to be a really good experience for your student athletes. Like, I'll be honest, San Antonio has dropped the boat with the food 100%, right? Like, they have a food court in the venue that closed at like 3:00 on Saturday. And our events went till like 9 or 10 o'clock. And they don't want DoorDash dropping off hundreds of $1,000s worth of food, because that's taken away from the people in the venue. So we run into a clash there. So any way we can sort of get on the same page with things like that, like we've talked about doing food trucks, things of that nature that I think kind of cool as we go forward. But this is a community that's going to come, they're going to play, and then they're going to want to check out what's going on. And for like San Antonio, we have free play events. Like, there's single player Valorant tournaments going on and other games going on in addition to what's happening. So yeah, you're focused on your individual competition and your individual game, but also it's, I want to check that out. Oh, I know that player. Oh, I know that thing. Oh, there's arcades. There's other stuff. There's food opportunities so I can eat and I can have a good experience. And I don't have to order out. I don't have to take a van and shepherd 12 student athletes to get something or something like that. So as long as it's a commitment, and I mean that like in terms of like, we want to grow with you. And I think that's how I would say what that looks like. It's an investment in that we're all learning. Like there's no blueprint. There is no blueprint to this thing. So we're all sort of learning about what makes this better. And I'm proud to say that this is the third year we've done our championships in person. It was by far our best. And I guarantee right now, next year will be better. Because every night, every Sunday night after we wrap up, we're standing in the parking lot for an hour debriefing about, all right, what went right? How can we do that better? And that's important to us. And that way of thinking, I think that's where we look for in a potential partner.
Jacob, thank you so much. If anyone wants to connect with you.
Yeah, I'm Jacob at necc.gg. God bless our team. We finally made it a lot easier. It's just necc.gg. And please reach out. There are cards there. I'd love to talk to you. I've truly enjoyed being here. Thanks to everybody with Playeasy in this community for inviting me.
All right, Micah, let's do this. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay. So for those who don't know you, can you give a bit of your background and what it is you do at TRIBU?
So basically, hi guys, my name is Micah. I started a company called TRIBU. It's more known for its flagship event called Jackalope. So Jackalope is an action sports festival. Think of it as a challenger brand to X Game. We run skateboarding festivals under that name. So we do skateboarding, climbing, motocross, base jumping. It's 50,000 people, 60,000 people in some cities. We're in Canada and the US and launched in Australia. I started 15 years ago out of a party in my backyard and a dare. My friend dared me to do it bigger. So as an entrepreneur, got going and build a business around my passion. We also do ski and snowboard events in some markets, snowmobile, freestyle, where they jump and do backflips in the middle of a city. And yeah, I'm trying to live my best life and bring business to a destination who believe in action sports and the power of action sports. And I'm stoked to be here.
Awesome. Well, you do have such an interesting background starting just in your backyard and then growing into what it is today. Could you speak about just that growth and trajectory?
Yeah, it's a long story and I talk a lot, so I'll try to sum it up. But as a kid, I grew up in the countryside, like 3 hours north out of Montreal. You might hear my accent. I'm Canadian. Yeah. Hey. But out of 3 hours north of Montreal in '99, I had like a square TV, for those who might remember what this is, and a satellite dish, no cable, middle of a dirt road, middle of nowhere. My only neighbor, if you can picture it, was a dairy farm, and there was no one else. And for some reason, I caught Tony Hawk on TV do his 900. It's a legendary trick at X Game in '99. That moment, that piece of content sparked a journey where I built a mini ramp in my backyard. My mom didn't know it. I just ordered wood and they delivered for some reason. And then eventually I started a skateboard brand that was not profitable. That was a passion project, especially in Canada where summer doesn't exist really, like in its hockey land, as you might know. But eventually a brand, Molson, gave us some $12,000 to sponsor an event. And I was like, oh, I'm changing business. I'm no longer in skateboarding. I'm doing events. So I did event and a party in my backyard, a legendary party in my backyard where we had friends. It wasn't a company at the time, but people showed up. We had like a snowboard backyard party, I would call it. And that eventually led into a business of 20 people full-time in Montreal. We're hiring in the US now. Yeah, it's a long journey. That's why I said I speak a lot. But I went to some sort of a Shark Tank TV show in Canada called Dragon's Den, got investors, bought them back during the pandemic. In this room, we all know the pandemic was bad, right? The event industry. But for us, like the good news was I could go back to my investor at the time and say, I believe in this. Do you believe in this as well? Do you want to double down, put some money back in the business? They said, we're going to pass. I respectfully said, I'll buy you back. So I bought back 25% of my business on a handshake and put it on my credit card. So it was a good deal. That was a good outcome. But there's many, many things that are in my head and I want to try to bring to life in the next couple of years. I've been doing it for 15 now. And this is such a cool industry for those who are new to it. And thank you, Kerri and the Playeasy team, for putting this event together. I think it's refreshing.
Of course. And I spoke on my intro to this summit on the connections that you meet outside of just the sessions and everything that we're doing today. And a big reason was because of when we first met, you told me about how you ended up having Jackalope in Virginia Beach was just by chance of going to a bar at one of the conferences and ended up being serendipitous. And so could you speak to just that partnership and then how big Jackalope has become in Virginia Beach?
Yeah, so I think the power of saying yes. I'm a strong believer of, someone asks you if you want to do something, and sometimes you're like, tired. I don't want to go to this conference. I want to go to bed. Blah blah blah. Like we all felt that, right? And I still feel it. And I was one of the first one last night to go to bed. Sorry,
Ryan just shook his head too much too. So that is
But to go back to your question, as we're all doing those shows, my humble story was at Sports ETA in Birmingham, Alabama, a few years ago. I'm doing the speed dating there. So 50 meetings in 3 days, 8 minutes, boom, boom, boom. People pass and go. And it's great. Then I get invited to the evening function. So 2 states were hosting, the state of Alabama and the state of Virginia. I just went. And then as it's like 7 p.m., 7:30, I'm at the state of Alabama on the rooftop, beautiful setting, free food, free drink. You know how it goes. And I'm like, I'm tired. Should I go to that state of Virginia hosting in the middle of nowhere? I'm like, fuck it. Sorry. I'll take a Uber.
We'll put the E on this spot. No, I'm just kidding.
So I took an Uber and like 7:30, I was like, I'll go and check it out. I arrive at a dive bar in the middle of nowhere, 20-minute Uber. And then there's like probably 10 people there. No joke. They were like calling last call. There's a few chips and salsa left there. But for some reason, I've bumped into Bill Kelly and Danny Tim from Visit Virginia Beach. And we started talking, hit it off. 3 months later, the mayor of Virginia Beach announced a 3-year deal. That was by far the shortest deal making, but it was all about timing. And it. Sometimes we cross path, each of one of us, and it's all about timing. But for me, to your point, it was all about saying yes. I got invited. It was late. There's a million reasons why I could say no, and I went. And sometimes you got to roll the dice. I'm a strong believer, and that's why when you invited me here, I said I'm traveling a lot like crazy those days. I'll make the time. I'll sacrifice the time with the family, the kids, whatever. But I'm stoked I did it because you never know. So you got to roll the dice. And thank you for everyone who's here, because you also rolled the dice by sacrificing your schedule and being here and listening to me. And I hope we got a chance to connect as well.
Well, you currently have 3 open RFPs on Playeasy. So could you speak to what you're looking for out of those RFPs and what you look for in a host city?
So we got 3 RFPs. One is a freestyle snowmobile show that we've done in Canada. So think of it of sled guys doing backflips on a 75-foot gap in the middle of a city. It's X game level athletes. It's super impressive. It's more of a programming play for an existing winter festival. So we've done it, and it's eye candy. It delivers, and it's not super expensive, but all of our events are free for the public. So we do need host funding to put those events together. So that's our Barbara Ghazi, which means frozen beard winter festival brand. We also have an urban ski and snowboard rail jam called Epic. It's another RFP. That's a bigger play. Like we have to build a scaffolding. It's this urban rail jam. So think of it as like a big scaffolding tower in the middle of your downtown setting. We truck in all the snow. We do a live TV and live broadcast component. We do it in Mississauga right now in Canada. 20,000 people show up. And all of our events are kind of in the same team. It's by surprising something that all the guests, with something you wouldn't expect in that urban setting. So snowmobile downtown, ski and snowboard downtown, and Jackalope, which is our 3rd brand, is more known, is all about skateboarding. And we do it in Virginia Beach, Ventura, California, Mississauga, Montreal, and Newcastle, Australia. I'm building a 10, 20 stop tour around that brand, giving the Olympic momentum. LA 2028 is going to be big for skateboarding. Every city around the country has a skate park. Sometimes they don't even know about it, but we're here to say, you should activate that skate park, and maybe activate your downtown setting with a skateboarding event or your beachfront, because that community is passionate. Like skateboarders, climbers, they love the adrenaline, and it's really click wordy. It's like, so it's very viral as well. So our three brands depend on funding, hosting, because all of our events are free, but then we get to corporate sponsors and raise more cash to deliver a bigger experience.
Awesome. Do we have any questions for him? Yep. Yeah. Wait till, sorry.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I've seen your RFPs for a long time, but the Virginia Beach one always stood out. Just like the imagery you have around that. Can you talk a little bit about you made that bet? Virginia Beach made that bet on you. The impact you've seen from the few events you've run there so far.
Yeah, so Virginia Beach is kind of our flagship event out of the 5 that we currently do. And one of the reasons, if I may go back, was when we did the deal together in 22, that was for 3 years, so 23, 25 to 25. And one of the reasons was to bring back Canadian in market. You know, being based in Canada, we already have 2 events in the biggest cities, the Greater Toronto and Montreal market. So there was like let's bring back Canadian. The border was closed for the pandemic time. That was one. And the other one was to celebrate their action sports community. They already had like surfing and skateboarding embedded in their community. So they really want to bring that back. What we saw was together we talked at partner and we said we need to start with a bang, and brought Tony Hawk as a headliner for year 1. And we had like, I think 32,000 people on the beach that year. And to be frank, like not a lot of people knew about Jackalope in the market. If you are really into skateboarding, you might know, but that really kind of established the brand pretty strongly. We also did like a stunt. I found a guy who's a YouTuber. His name's Chad Caruso, and I always follow his content on YouTube. The guy skated across America, pushed 3,000 miles on his skateboard from Venice Beach, California to Virginia Beach, Virginia. And he arrived, we planned it, so he arrived 1 week prior to the festival. So he was carrying the Virginia Beach flag from VB to VB, Venice Beach to Virginia Beach. And that was a marketing stunt. He basically did a YouTube video every day for 57 days straight. So think of it. He's pushing 80 to 100 miles on his skateboard, uphill, downhill, with trucks flying on the side of him. And every night he arrives like probably fractured at the hotel, and he's got to edit on his phone. He's solo, no one following. That was a home run. And then there's a lot I could go on, but the partnership that we built with Virginia Beach, an example of that was there was a bridge that he couldn't cross for some legal reasons, and because he was building this whole world Guinness of an accomplishment, he needed to be able to prove that he skated every mile, every inch. So Danny and Bill from the city of Virginia Beach helped me find a way to kind of get legal authorization for him to cross the bridge so it wouldn't compromise the world Guinness record. And that's the extra mile sometimes we don't talk about. Like, yes, we need funding. Yes, we need venues. Yes, we need city supports and whatnot. But some partners will go the extra mile, and that's really the difference. So the 3 year of Jackalope in Virginia Beach were hugely successful. And when we went into renegotiation for the following years, it was kind of a no-brainer. So we got the chance in 2025 to announce it. The mayor of Virginia Beach went on stage during the festival and said, 3 more years. And everyone was like screaming, 3 more years, 3 more years. And it's really kind of a love relationship with the fans and the community. So now the event grew from originally 32,000 people to last couple of weeks, 60,000 people on the beach. And it's like lumberjack competition with steel, skateboarding. We got skimboarding in the water, jet skis doing backflip. We got motocross, BMX, live music, and everything's free. So our thesis is we don't want to hustle and try to charge $20 at the door or $50 at the door. We want folks to spend that money in the bar, the hotel, and the restaurants. And through the economic impact we've done, we got a case. It works. Plus, if you can value the marketing impact, because all of our events are very visual, it also delivers a lot of marketing value and advertising value.
Awesome. Any other questions? I know just from a logistical standpoint, what is it that a city would need to have in order to host your event? Is that something that you are bringing in everything, or is that something the city has to have?
It's a great question. And our events are very unique in the sense that we're not field of play of a typical traditional sports in that sense, meaning we don't need court. We don't need like a rectangle or square shape. we can build everything or we can use anything that's there. So for example, some cities that I talk to, a destination, they'll say, we have a skate park, but it's pretty old and beaten. I'm not sure if it's up to standard. Like standard in skateboarding are fairly a new concept. So we can use anything that's there and basically amplify it. We can also build everything and truck everything. So in Ventura, we launched there in California like a month ago, and they had a beautiful brand new skate park, but they wanted to highlight their downtown setting. They had hosted X Game for 2 years. X Game went elsewhere, and I raised my hand and said, you know what? Let's bring Jackalope. Are you interested? Let's celebrate the community. And we've built our iconic vert ramp in a downtown setting, and we had 50,000 people who showed up for year one. The business were booming, and we're announcing next week that we're renewing that deal for the next 2 years. So sometimes it's about surprise and delight. If you're going to use an existing skate park, there's less of a surprise. So yeah, we could use the existing skate park, save costs, save money, but are thousands of people going to show up at the skate park? Maybe not. But if you have like this beautiful backdrop, iconic city hall building or whatever in the backdrop, and we can bring the ramp in front of it, that creates a picturesque moment and something people will talk for years.
Yeah, no, I can attest to the visual side of things. It always pops up when I see it on Playeasy. But any other questions? Good. All right. Well, thank you, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you.
James, Lucas, and Adam, welcome. Thanks for being here. And we also have I didn't realize that we had our two Canadians groups right after each other. So appreciate having you. So for those who don't know about Weekend Hockey, what is your organization? And can you give just a little bit of your background and how it started?
We started 20 years ago, 2006. Small event company, 7-8 tournaments. Took a chance, started my own business, worked at the Toronto Star newspapers, made great money, but I hated my job. So I said, all right, I'm going to give this a go. Risked everything, risked the family, risked the mortgage, all of it. And here we are 20 years later, 90 events, North America, US, Canada, annual growth rate, 10 to 15 tournaments per year, 65 events in Ontario, 25 in the US. We want to, I'd say in 5 years, we want to be about 120, 150 events equally across US and Canada.
Awesome. And where in the States are you currently, and where are you looking to expand?
So currently we're in Florida, Las Vegas, Nashville, Madison, Wisconsin, Portland, Oregon, Buffalo, New York. Am I missing any?
Texas as well this year.
Yeah, Texas is a brand new one.
Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. And so I've heard you describe your events as hockey vacations. Can you explain what you mean by that and how you make it that full vacation?
So just like other people that have spoken tonight or today, it's all about the experience. Everybody wants to go to Florida or Nashville or Las Vegas for a hockey tournament. But what do they do outside the rink? And we want to focus on that like big time. If it's Florida, they're going to hit the beach. If it's Salt Lake, they might go to the Olympic destination or look at all the Olympic facilities. We want it Nashville. You're going to play hockey, but then you got the country music. You've got the Broadway street. You've got all these other things. We want to make it the best experience possible at that destination, away from the rink. The rink speaks for itself. They're going to have great competition. They're going to play teams they've never played before. And we want them to say, this is the best experience we've ever had. We're coming back. We're going to go to your other locations. We're going to follow you guys because it was an amazing experience.
And Lucas, from your perspective, what has credited to your growth over the course of 10 plus years?
I would just say the quality of teams that we brought from, like, obviously from Canada. A lot of teams trust us in Ontario to come to the US too. So all of that growth, and then just good organization, good facilities, all that kind of stuff there.
And could you give everyone an idea of the demographics within which your teams are playing?
Yeah, we have majority of the teams are US and Canadian. However, we're getting a lot of influx from European teams. Slovakia, Hungary, and even Dubai. Believe it or not, there's hockey in Dubai. So we're getting stuff like that now, and just growth, period, like from everywhere.
And I think something that has always stood out about your organization, you guys have really spent a lot of time into your digital marketing and just how you are found across the internet, specifically just the content you just continue to push. Can you speak to how that has helped with your overall growth?
That is something like, again, reinvesting a lot of the funds back into the business. And we've hired, I don't know, 3, 4 social event companies, creators, video companies, and the parents and the kids, when they see themselves on Instagram or Facebook, they are just losing their minds. Like 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 18-year-old, they're seeing themselves on social media and they can't believe it. So it just adds another level of excitement to the event. And our goal is to have a social creator or a video company or something at every single one of our events, both sides of the border. And that's our goal, just to enhance that overall experience.
Awesome. And as you continue to look to grow across the United States, what is it that you're looking for in a host city?
Number one, just like several others that I've talked today, is venue. We have to have the venue. And in case of ice hockey, we'd like to have at least 2 sheets of ice. 3 is better, but we'll start with 2. Like in Texas, we're in Allen, Texas, 30 miles north of Dallas, 2-sheet facility. Okay, we want to get into Texas so bad. We'll go with the 2 sheets. Once we have the venue, everything else takes care of itself. The hotels, proximity to downtown. We like 30 minutes or less. Restaurants, things to do. Really, it all starts with the venue. You've got the venue, then the hotels will be there. The restaurants will be there. Top Gun Golf will be there. Like just all these different things. That's what we're really looking for.
Yeah, and I think that's been just an overall common theme in every conversation that we've had is just the importance of that overall event experience. And I was actually on a site visit recently and happened to be at one of your events, walked into an ice hockey rink. But do you have an example of a successful destination partnership that you have today?
I'm going to go with a gentleman that was here. He's not here now. I think he's gone golfing or something.
That's a call out on, I know who you're going to say that.
James Adler, Buffalo Sports Commission. And by the way, they got the best chicken wings there is, like hands down. And I mean, with James, we only do one event in Buffalo. But the thing with him is he's such a personable guy. He's always checking in with us. How's the teams going? How's the registrations going? Is there anything we can do? Do you want some advice on restaurants? Whatever it is, constant communication. And we have other destinations that are great. Salt Lake City's been awesome. They're all great, but the ones that are more engaging are the ones that we're just like, I could phone him on his cell phone any day of the week and just say, hey, what's up? What's going on? So really the relationship with that destination is everything. That's everything. To make this as a partnership, it's great for the city. It's great for us. It's great for the teams. It's great for the parents. It's just, that's all we're looking for.
For when you do enter a new city, so somewhere like Texas, how are you partnering with that city to be able to expand your teams? So is that something that you're doing on your own, or are you looking for local partners to help grow within that space?
We always like to go to a destination where we can grow. Generally, we'll start off, let's say it's 2 sheets of ice, 3 sheets of ice. We'll have 24 to 30 teams. On average, based on the past few years, like that 24 to 30 team tournament becomes 80 to 100. And we love to grow in that community. So that's a big factor. In Allen, Texas, I mean, it's 30 minutes of Dallas, but there's a lot of rinks in the Dallas area within 30 minutes. So we have potential to grow there. That's all we're looking for, an opportunity to grow. If we can't grow and we have a 24 or 30 team tournament, that's fine too. But we would love to be able to grow with that community.
And there are a lot of other hockey organizations out there. What do you think sets your organization apart from other hockey organizations?
There's a lot of tournament companies out there. In the US, there's a lot of big heavyweights out there. We're probably the largest in Canada. We reinvest a lot of our funds back into the business. So social influencers, video, our awards, like we have so many different awards, like not just team awards, individual awards, MVP awards. When they show up, they get stuff. I find a lot of other tournament companies don't do as many awards as we do, but the social stuff, they don't do anything near what we're doing. Like we are so focused on that experience. And when a player gets interviewed, I'll give one example. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this guy. Is Coach Chippy? Does that ring a bell? If you're not in the hockey space, you won't know. But Coach Chippy is, how many followers does he have?
500,000.
Yeah, 500,000. He'd be like comparable what the gentleman from Montreal was saying about the YouTuber guy, like big time. He gets in one of our tournaments, and some kid is just lining up just to get an autograph to talk to him. That's a huge thing, and a lot of other tournament companies don't seem to be doing that. They'd rather, I guess, maybe take that money for themselves, or we want to reinvest, just make it better. Whatever we did last year, make it better next year, and just keep going like that.
Yeah.
You've significantly grown in the United States recently in the last few years, and just talking to you last night, teams follow you from Canada and follow you from Alaska, and they're wanting to come to the United States, which I think is like good for destinations to know that when you bring one of your events to their city, you do have a following that comes in, which then incentivizes those local teams. They all want to. I was like this with soccer. When a foreign, when from another country come in, that's new competition, right? That's I want to see how so I think that's definitely a leveraging advantage you guys have.
Yeah, there's no question. I'll use Florida for an example. It's a growing hockey market. Yep. Tampa Bay won the cup. Panthers won the cup. They're building new rinks, and they always say to us, like, we're sick and tired of playing the same teams over and over again. They come to our tournaments, like you said, they're playing Alaska, they're playing Toronto, they're playing a team from Quebec, they're playing teams from Mississippi, out of state teams. And they're like, this is amazing. Like, we're playing teams in our own backyard that we've never seen or heard of or played. So that's a big deal. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Last one. You guys were here all day yesterday, was there anything that stood out from what you heard, just any takeaway from yesterday with what you saw, what destinations care about, that if there could be nothing, but if there's anything that stood out that you would want a few sentences on?
You know what? I'm not going to answer that. What I'm going to say is this has been awesome. Playeasy setting this up. I know a gentleman from Montreal said the same thing. This is awesome. Like, we're all in the same community. Sports commissions, event planners. This is the sporting business. And honestly, to make a living doing this, it's a dream. And to be around like-minded people like this, it can't get better. Really, that's just, I just want to say that.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. And I think that's a great way to end. Is there anything else you want to get across before?
What I'll say is Quiggs was great at sharing pints of beer with me last night.
Yeah, I knew he gave you something.
In our group. And it was a lot of fun having a few cold ones.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. And if anyone wants to get in contact with you, how should they do so?
Honestly, go to our website, weekendhockey.com. All our info is there. Emails, phone numbers, whatever you need.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you. Awesome. Thanks so much, James.